Right, welcome back to another SegWeather video looking at your forecast for Saturday, August 8th, 2026. We're going to go ahead and dive into what to expect for your Saturday. Starting off with this map, we do have a bit to talk about with some ongoing shower and storm chances occurring across parts of the mid-Tennessee area into northeast. Looking at that being the case for the start of your Saturday, some of the action towards the southeast as well, and then a little area here in Nebraska, some storms ongoing at this time. So a little bit of a stormy start for some areas, drier for some. And then looking at the surface map, we do have this ongoing cold front moving through. It may come back up as a warm front, as right now there's a warm front on the back side of this pushing in, and do expect this warm front to potentially interrupt this cold front, make it turn a little bit more stationary, maybe even to a warm front, and then eventually seeing that warm and humid air return back to the Midwest, unfortunately, as we head into early part of next week. But for now, high pressure is keeping a lot of these areas dry, bringing that cooler, less humid air to a lot of these areas before we do see that return to humid, hot conditions by early next week. Elsewhere, not much to talk about other than a couple weak areas of high pressure, one in the southeast and then another across parts of the Rockies as well. Now, looking at our watches and warnings, though, speaking of that heat, we do have a lot to talk about in terms of heat with a lot of heat advisories, warnings, and even some developing new watches taking place. The watch is in place for parts of Missouri. This is an extreme heat watch. That will go into effect as we head towards the end of this week into early next week. Looking at those hotter, humid conditions coming into that area by the time I get towards then. So watching heat index values over 105. Meanwhile, the Southwest, where we have the darker reds, is where we have the extreme heat warnings, meaning values will be over 105 today, and they'll continue throughout the weekend and perhaps into early next week. And then the oranges indicate heat advisories that's in place for much of the West Coast towards the midsection of the nation and even parts of the East Coast. Seeing that being possible as we head throughout your day today. So watching that very closely as well. And then the Pacific Northwest towards the upper Rockies, we do have a lot of the grays. That represents air quality alerts, meaning fire conditions are making things quite hazy and smoky in those areas. And then red flag warnings still in place for these areas for those hot, dry conditions, along with the strong upper level winds, contributing to a very prime environment for fires to take advantage of. But looking back to that severe weather threat, we do have up to a slight risk in place for a lot of our eastern states for today, just like yesterday where we had that slight risk in place that will unfortunately be in place for you guys again today, as we do expect another round of some strong storms to be possible, scattered severe being the case, level 2 of those storms. And then outside of that, looking at a smaller threat, level 1 marginal risk for everyone else in the eastern plains to Midwest, Southwest, parts of Texas, and Southeast as well, looking at being a possibility for your Saturday. Now, looking at the threats, tornado, not at all looking to be a threat, which is good news. Once again, third day in a row of that actually. And then damaging wind threat looking to be up to 50% risk up for the East Coast, up to 60-mile-per-hour winds, if not potentially greater in this area. Maybe a couple instances of that in the brown highlighted areas on this map as well. Now, looking at the hail risk, also quite low of a threat, so maybe up to half dollar-sized hail being possible with some of these stronger storms, maybe close to an inch possible as well. Now, looking at futurecasts, looking at this afternoon and going to Sunday morning, we do expect occasional shower storm chances for the eastern half of the U.S., especially towards northeast, where we have some of those stronger storms taking place. Looking at more scattered activity, maybe a developing band of some storms later on in the day today. Meanwhile, south could see a few shower storm chances at times. Southwest, same thing, a few shower and storm chances as well. And some of that also here in Iowa as we head later on this evening into Sunday morning, as well as that being a shower and storm chances does dissipate in Nebraska as well. Now, temperature wise, you do expect a hot day for much of the plains to deep south. Temperatures in the 90s to 100s for a lot of these areas, especially over the northern portion of Oklahoma, perhaps the southern portion of Kansas as well, and then the deep south temperatures in the 90s despite those storm chances. Same thing for the southeast, temperatures in the 90s, And then off towards the southwest, temperatures reaching 120 potentially for a lot of these areas, the hot region, up towards the Pacific Northwest, 80s to 90s likely for you guys as well. And then upper Midwest, temperatures 70s to 80s behind that cold front, which will be ushering in again that cooler air as we head towards then. And speaking of that cooler air and less humid conditions, again, looking at this chart, anything over 60 is considered humid. And looking at the map, you can tell the entire east part of the U.S. will be humid. So anything over 60, you'll see means humid to oppressively humid at times, especially for Florida. Looking at that being the case, the East Coast, same thing. And then upper Midwest behind that front again, temperatures. Excuse me, dew points will be in the 40s to 50s, so not too bad at all for these areas. So I'm feeling much nicer and comfortable despite the warm temperatures still in the area. But out towards the west, again, it's gonna be bone dry, humidity to work no humidity to worry about at this time. Now, looking at the fire outlook, we do unfortunately have that elevated risk for fires to take place across the Pacific Northwest again, towards the Rockies, even a little area here in parts of the four corners of actually five corners of these states: Colorado, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and New Mexico as well. And then the risk for dry thunderstorms occurring across parts of the Southwest as well. Looking in potential, any storms that develop could produce lightning, and unfortunately, that could also lead to some fires developing, as this will be dry lightning, meaning storms that don't have any precipitation with them, coming with a bit of lightning, which is not good, as dry lightning can unfortunately spark an increased risk for fires. So watching that for the western part of the nation. And speaking of that fire and that smoke forecast, unfortunately, the Pacific Northwest looks quite bad again today. Looking at a lot of yellows, oranges, reds, and purples, indicating where that smoke could be quite thick and bad at times. So a lot of these areas will be seen at again. Elsewhere, some slight haze for almost everyone else. And then notice this area here in Canada. This is a new developing fire that just sparked up here just recently. This will be in effect throughout your day today. So luckily this time though, it doesn't look like it's going to impact the US, but if it gets any bigger, we could see some impact, especially towards northeast or even parts of Midwest if this thing does get going. So watching that one very closely, as this was just a new developing one, just popped up recently. We'll keep a close eye on that one very closely for you too. But besides that, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to leave a like. If you want to see more of this content, don't forget to subscribe to always get updated on whenever I drop a video on this channel. Have a great day and stay weather aware.